Welcome to the Voices in Recovery podcast. Voices in Recovery is produced by Freedom's Path Recovery Society, a registered Canadian charity. If you enjoy the podcast, please consider a donation to Freedom's Path Recovery Society. All donations go directly to assisting Freedom's Path in providing their services free of charge and helps us keep the podcast going. We are grateful for any and all donations. This podcast discusses difficult topics such as childhood abuse, drug and alcohol use, sexuality and sexualized trauma, and more. If you are under the age of 18, please speak with your legal guardian prior to listening. The opinions expressed during the podcast are those of the individual and not those of Voices in Recovery or Freedom's Path or any other organization. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed this podcast.
This podcast is being recorded on the traditional land of the Blackfoot Confederacy. This consists of the Kainai, Piikani, Siksika, and the Blackfeet in the U.S. We acknowledge the Stoney Nakoda, which consists of the Bearspaw, Morley, and Chiniki. We acknowledge the Tsuut'ina Huadene and the Métis, Inuit, status, and non-status from all of Turtle Island, and those who are visiting. We are all treaty people.
Thanks for coming on tonight, dude. It's really good to see you, man. I'm excited to hear your story, and I really appreciate you spreading the word around, where you're from, about the podcast and about what we're doing. So anyway, without any further delay, I would really love to hear your story, sir.
Yeah. I do want to say, David, it's good to see you. It's good to see you. I mean, I haven't actually seen you since 93.
Oh yeah. That's when I came back for court, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah. And you were, yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll start there. You and I,
sure.
I lived across the street from your friend, Jeff Montero.
Yeah.
And we hung out a couple of times. I remember you fondly, but I don't remember you fondly.
Mm-hmm. Well, because I probably wasn't very nice to everybody.
No. The biggest memory I have is the first time you came over to my house and you threw me in the pool because you got mad at me.
Did I really do that?
Oh yeah, twice.
Twice. Dude. Yeah. All right, so if we ever see each other in the flesh again, you have my permission to punch me in the face. Like totally. Like absolutely, you have my permission, man. Yeah, I don't know what I was doing back then. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Yeah.
No worries. If I recall correctly, I really deserved it because I would egg you on.
Okay, well then I guess we both got what was coming to us.
Exactly.
I guess.
As a matter of fact, I remember there was not to reminisce too much, but there was one time, you remember Matt Quirin, the next door neighbor?
Yes.
And he had that little lawn area in front of his house, and we all used to screw around right there. And you and Jeff had this was right after the Rodney King thing.
Oh shit.
And you and Jeff tackled me and held me down and started kind of poking me in the chest, and Jeff spit in my face.
No, man.
And he kept saying LAPD, boom.
Oh Jesus, dude.
I mean, I wasn't thrilled about it at the time, and now we're kids.
Yeah, but dude, still, man, sometimes kids are dicks, right? And obviously we were both a couple of dicks.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But, so hey, man, I apologize.
It is what it is. Oh no, please don't. We were kids, and that's and
we can't go back, but it's still I don't appreciate that about my earlier part of my life, right? That I was kind of an asshole. I don't appreciate that about
that's me. Healthy. That's healthy, and I appreciate that, and I do appreciate the apology. And for whatever my participation in it, I apologize too. But the story was just average, ordinary, normal stuff until I got out of high school, and then I started doing crystal and crank right out of high school. In college, I met a girl, and she used to go to not Ayala, that other one. Anyway, it was in El Monte, and I started doing meth with her.
Yeah. So had you been dabbling at all before that, man? Like
I did.
Yeah.
I I started drinking around 15, 16. That's, if you remember Raven, we used to go over to her place when her uncle and aunt were home, and we would drink up there.
That's right. And was it Stella? Would Stella come to that too?
I know Amber did. This weird chick that we didn't like. That
Oh,
lived down the
okay. Yeah.
street.
Okay.
I don't remember Stella.
It's okay, man. I have, like I said, hazy memories, so I apologize.
Oh, it's all good. Eric Haggerty came over every once in a while. Maurice Gabriel, who never drank.
Yeah.
He came, but my senior year, I would start drinking. Junior year, I was smoking weed. I would, I don't know if you remember, like Steve Hyman, Joel Hyman.
I do.
Okay, yeah.
Vaguely, I do. Yeah.
I started smoking weed over their house, and then the quick progression to coke and meth and stuff like that. I think that was about it. That was all I did. I ended up in the Montclair, Claremont, Pomona area, right there off of Route 66. I lived in a place there with a buddy from high school who worked at that Round Table Pizza.
Round Table Pizza, man.
Yeah. And that's where it really got out of control with the meth. Ended up on the street for about a year.
Oh shit, brother.
And then my dad hunted me down at a hotel in Roland Heights, and I don't know how he did it, but he found me. And he snatched me up and he said, we're shipping you out of town, or we're gonna go have you live with your aunt and your brother and my grandfather, his father, out in St. Louis, or Belleville, which is across the river from St. Louis. And I got clean that way.
Yeah.
And not for lack of trying, but I got clean. The next decade or so, I got really involved in the church, and it started with just a way to stay clean, really, and then it became an actual part of my life. I moved from Belleville to this little town in Illinois called Vandalia. There was about 10,000 people, maybe less. And that's the smallest place I ever lived. I always lived in larger cities. And when I moved to Indianapolis, I moved here with a friend that I'd met in Belleville. And there was a house downtown that was a bunch of church guys. We were all under 20, or we were all about 20. And they were ministering to the inner city kids, and got involved in the church that way. And I really took an interest in outreach, and as that began to develop and I got more involved in the church, I started to develop an interest in theology and philosophy and the more abstract concepts of religious life. And the pastor at the church that's actually right across the street from me now, it's one of the larger churches in Indianapolis. He took a shine to me, and he said, hey, look, if you want to be a pastor, I can make sure that happens. And he started paying for me to go to school.
Wow.
And when I got married, the church bought my first car. They bought my wife a car. They paid off our debts so that we could start a marriage with no debt.
Wow.
The deeper I got into theology, the more I wanted to get away from being a pastor to teaching theology. So I decided I wasn't going to be a pastor anymore. I was going to become a theologian. So I would need to pursue my doctorate. And the more I studied, I started becoming interested in the early church fathers, the guys that knew the apostles and their writings. And I as I had a paper I had to write. It was a paper I was writing on Romans 9 through 11, and I called up a theologian in Steubenville, Ohio, which has a very large Catholic university, the Franciscan University of Steubenville, and he is a Catholic convert. I had a lot of questions for him, and I ended up converting to Catholicism. My wife and I joined the Catholic Church in 2004, Easter Vigil 2004. And that's when the career path really opened up. Instead of having my pastor pay for, a small little Bible college, now I've got the church saying, hey, look, we recognize your talents, we recognize your ability, we want to send you to a university, pay for a full 4 years. And I ended up getting a scholarship, and not like a $5,000 scholarship. I'm talking like a $20,000-$40,000 scholarship a year. And that scholarship was meant for incoming 18 and 19-year-olds. And here I was 30 years old, and they're giving it to me. So I'm saying that so that you understand that I'm not trying to pat myself on the back necessarily, but this was, I was a rising star. In the interim, I had injured my back, and it was a fractured vertebrae. It was the L5, and it started with Vicodin and some morphine, and that slowly progressed. I eventually got surgery, had an L5-S1 spinal fusion, where they went in the front and then went in the back. And in so doing, you can see it in the MRIs now. It's actually pinched the nerve. It's squished the nerve, my sciatic nerve. So I'm constantly in pain. It's just how bad is the pain?
God, that sounds like back pain. That's for sure.
Oh yeah. It goes down my leg, everything.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. Let me think. I had the surgery. The surgery didn't really work, but I had my pain meds. Everything was fine. Eventually, it was a work comp case, so I eventually got released from work comp. So I had to find another doctor that would take care of the pain. And unfortunately, I got connected to a pain doctor here right at the start, or right in the not at the start, but the right in the middle of the big opiate epidemic.
God, you guys are getting hammered down there, man.
Oh, brother.
Like we know it's bad up here. Like we have more than one death a day in our province from overdose, but I know how big it is down there. It's just, it's astronomical.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Fuck, man.
I'm going to give you an example.
Yeah.
When I stopped seeing her, I was being prescribed 3 200 milligram morphines every day, 3 30 milligram Roxys every 3 to 4 hours. So that 90 milligrams of oxycodone every 3 to 4 hours.
And how long were you doing that for, man?
About 6 months.
Jesus, man.
Oh, and I'm not done.
Oh God. Yeah. But like just that alone is enough to create a chemical dependency, right? Like,
oh yeah.
That 6 month period on all that heavy dope, man. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
If you want, I can tell you the rest that I was on.
Well, it's up to you, man. I don't want to, I keep interrupting your story because I'm my brain's realizing as you're talking that the difference in our geography makes a huge difference in whether or not a person has a good chance, right? Like geography plays a role.
And real quick, 210 milligram Norcos every 3 to 4 hours plus 1,600 micrograms of fentanyl.
Yeah.
The lollipops every 4 hours.
Jesus, man.
For back pain.
Yeah.
And, some of that shit's black box now. You can't get it unless you're, in stage 3 cancer.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Wow.
and
no wonder so many people died, eh?
Yeah. No doubt. Now I'm in Indianapolis, and the epicenter, the start of, not necessarily start, but where the heart of it was for such a long time was South and Central Ohio. It's right across the border from us.
Oh, okay.
And, it just slowly started creeping. And I happened to get one of those docs. That's where I got my taste for it. That's where I got and what's crazy is I quit cold turkey. I was done for 2 years off of all that shit. One night, I couldn't afford to go anymore because I'd lost my insurance, because of course I was so doped up. I lost my job. And I started, I was still in pain, but I couldn't see the doctor anymore, and I had to quit cold turkey. And for 2 years, it's funny, I didn't even realize. I knew I was withdrawing, but I didn't realize I was withdrawing, if that makes sense. I knew I was having a reaction to coming off. I didn't realize that it was opiate withdrawals.
Yeah.
And so I was still looking for a job. I was still going for job interviews, sick as all hell. My ex-wife was making me sleep on the couch because the restless legs were so bad that it was keeping her up at night. And I really didn't understand what was happening, not physiologically at all.
Yeah.
I just knew I felt like shit.
Yeah. It was hard to put it together until you've been there, right?
Really, it is. And then came the real kicker. 2 years later, I was actually seen as my personal physician, because at the time, they didn't have Suboxone clinics like they have now. They had a few addiction doctors that you could go to for Suboxone, and you had to pretty much wait in line. And the chances of finding one within 50, 60 miles was slim, because they could only accept so many patients a year.
Yeah.
And my personal doctor, my PC, was actually one of those addiction doctors. So he flat out refused to prescribe me any kind of opiates until I hurt my back. And when I hurt my back, I even said to him, don't you have a problem prescribing these to me? I mean, my history. And he said, well, I'll prescribe them to you, for when you need them, and you need them. So I went, okay. And
it's dangerous, man.
Yeah. Once again, got back on the hydros, and then I'll never forget leaving his office that day. I had to go pick up my son, my oldest son, from daycare. And on the way there, it kicked in, and it was just like, oh, I remember this. I had 2 years without it, and it's like starting over.
Yeah.
And
it's like getting kissed by God all over again, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I even remember I called my ex-wife she was my wife at the time. I called her on the cell, and I'd said, wow, I remember why I like these so much.
Yeah.
And that should have sent off warning bells, but
I'm sure it did, but they were unheeded, right?
Right.
Yeah. Because it felt too good, man. It was too good.
Hell yeah. It made you personable. It made, everything started making sense. And oh, what a hot mess.
Yeah. What a hot mess indeed, man.
Yeah.
Well said.
Then I started that doctor put me on kind of like a small maintenance dose for a while. While we were trying to figure out what to do. And I was legit in it to figure out what to do. Yeah. I knew I'd have to get off him one day. I just figured he'd help me wean. Well, his wife ended up getting cancer, so I got switched to another doctor. And this doctor has no idea about my past. And he hears, oh, you're still in pain? Well, here, how about we switch to Percocet? and why don't we put you on some oxys? And you got to remember, this is your regular doctor. This is the guy you see for the flu. This is the guy you see, when you got a bad tummy.
It's your GP, right?
Yeah. And it was like the perfect shitstorm. That happened. And within, I think, a month of that, my dad passed away all of a sudden. And nobody saw that coming. Nobody saw it coming.
Sorry, man.
I appreciate that. He was living in Seattle. So I flew out to Seattle, and I don't know if you remember being in my house. It was immaculate.
Vaguely, man, vaguely. Yeah.
And it had to vacuum the floors every day, had to dust every day, and I'm not complaining. I'm just saying that was my dad.
Yeah.
And
that's how it was.
Yeah. When I got to his place, oh my God. You could tell just by how everything was, he was depressed. I won't go into detail, but it was, have you seen Hoarders?
Yeah. And I've been a social worker for a long time. So I've been in some pretty bad houses. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
And by bad, I just mean like very much hoarders, right?
Yeah,
that's all.
Yeah. Not the hoarding, but the mess.
Yeah. That's right.
And he had, oh my God, it destroyed me to see, this icon, this guy that I had on a pedestal. Cause by this time my dad and I were friends. And just to see that, and all I could think was, God, why didn't you call me, And so when I got back home, I was just in a funk. I was just doing bad. And then a week and a half later, my wife walked out on me and the kids.
Oh, geez, buddy.
And the kids. Yeah. My oldest son was 4. My youngest was 1.5 years. And, I didn't have time to recover from my dad's death when suddenly, not only am I having to deal with, my wife hooking up with other people, but also taking care of these 2 youngsters. One is essentially an infant, and the other one's a toddler. And
that's heavy, dude.
Yeah. And it's not like, and it's not like I could cry every day. It's not like I could cry for 8 hours after I got home from work. And, I was still going to work full time, and I was still going to school full time and taking care of the kids and dealing with my dad's death and dealing with my wife leaving. So the only way that I could maintain was to take more pills, because that was the only thing that kind of numbed everything,
Yeah.
And then 6 months later, I get a text while I'm at work that says, I picked up the kids from your babysitter. I'm moving in with my new boyfriend. I'm taking the kids with me. You can see them once every 2 weeks on a weekend.
Wow.
And that sucked.
Jeez, man, no doubt.
So now I get to go home and the house is empty. I get to go home, back to the home that had all those memories, and now it's empty. So that really blew. And then and so of course started taking more pills. And then because I was taking more pills, and at the same time my doctor was sympathetic. He knew what was going on, so he was, well, here, how about some Xanax too, and
the anxiety, right?
right.
Yeah.
Oh, you're tired, how about some Adderall?
Yeah.
So all these pills are building up on each other. Yeah. And I'm not putting 2 and 2 together. And then 6 months later, because I'm on all these pills and because I'm dealing with all this shit, I lose my job. And this is happening right during the housing crisis. So guess what I lost next? I lost my house. And the only thing that I could fall back on was opiates. And by the time I lost my place, that's when I discovered heroin. I could get that a lot easier than I could buy pills, because the DEA was really cracking down on pills by then. And so I bounced around from house to house, and I got clean by uh, I found a way that I didn't have to buy pills and I didn't have to buy heroin. And I won't say what it is because I don't want people thinking, oh, that's all I got to do. But I figured out a way that's sort of legal to make sure that the sickness doesn't come back in.
Mhm.
But that's not going to stop me from getting heroin when I can,
Yeah, of course.
And then in the years passed, people in the know, I lost all my friends. I have got one friend left. That's from that time period. Because when I was going through all that, all my friends scattered like cockroaches. I couldn't fucking believe it. Here I am. I'm there for everybody else, and everybody else can't be there for me. And then on top of that, the church is starting to say, well, you need to get your shit together. And by the way, you need to, you're the head of the household. You need to get your family back together. And because of the way the law is here, since I was a good Christian guy and I wasn't going to declare divorce, because I didn't declare divorce, I had no legal recourse to get my kids back.
Yeah, you're basically in like a purgatory, right?
Yeah. So what else do I have? Just get high. That's it. About a year into it, I was really bad off. Not as bad as I eventually got, but I was really bad off. And Christine, you remember Christine?
Yeah, I remember Christine, man. Poor girl.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah, I miss her, man. She was
a saint, man. She was the first
she was good shit.
Ever talked to me about recovery. First person ever. I just happened to contact her on Facebook, and we were instant messaging, and she was, giving me the good news of, hey man, you can get clean, you can.
Yeah.
And I wasn't really in a position to understand that at the time. I knew it was a problem. I just didn't realize it was a problem.
Yeah.
But I owe it to her, and in her memory, I want to say that I owe it to her for introducing me to the concept of recovery.
Yeah.
And for that, I will always be indebted to her.
Yeah, that's fair, man.
Eventually, I wasn't using heroin anymore, but this fucking douche, I told him, you don't put opiates in front of an opiate addict. And I'll be damned, one day he comes in, and I've been doing coke every once in a while, but he comes in and he literally throws a bag of heroin down in front of me at work. And I was telling him off, and I could have walked away. I'm not blaming him for my use, but he said, well, I can always take it back. And I was like, no.
Yeah, once it's down.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Exactly. Sure, take it back.
So that's when I started using heroin again. And then I met this girl at work, and I started seeing her, and she started doing it. And now I'm not only paying for my habit, I'm paying for somebody else's habit, which now it became, and it was out of control before, but now it became completely out of control. Now it was all about finding a way, as much as I'd like to think, and even now, your own addict brain start things, you had it under control up until then. No, I lost control the first time I took it.
Yeah.
And I mean back in 2004.
I get it.
And I had, I wasn't working at the time, so I had to find any fucking way I could to make money, and shit started going really downhill. And I tried to get into recovery. I didn't want to go into treatment. I didn't know how to look for treatment, really. you know, and you hear horror stories from local people, you know, especially people who are relapsing. You know, oh, it doesn't work. See, I'm relapsing.
Yeah.
But it, you know, and you come to find out that really it's about giving something a chance. Yeah, there are shitty places, don't get me wrong.
For sure there are.
But there also has to be that absolute desire. I started going to see a recovery doctor. I was paying for me to go. I was paying for her to go. You know, I was paying for meds. But that first night that I went, she came over because my dumbass, you know, pill popper, you think, oh, you take more to feel good. Not with Suboxone, man. I kicked myself into precipitated withdrawal. I took like 4 in one night. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Wow.
And she came back to the house with me. She made sure I was comfortable. And then she left. And she came back over the house one more time after that. So when I tried to get into recovery, she boned out. And you know, you're in love, so you're just like, okay, well, I'll keep using with you. And then she ended up stealing from me, like a lot. And I stopped it then, but I was still out of control. Now it wasn't just I'm paying for 2 people. Now it's I can still make enough for 2 people, but now it's all mine. And I mean, David got so bad. To make extra money, I used to drive for Uber and Lyft, and I would not get out of the car for 18 hours at a time. It got so bad that I ended up getting a blood clot in my left leg. When I went into the hospital, the emergency room, they were trying to convince me to stay, but you know, as a heroin addict, you're thinking, fuck no, dude. And they told me, you don't understand, a big blood clot's this big. Yours goes from your ankle all the way to your groin.
Jesus.
Yeah, just one blood clot. Yeah, it was.
God.
Yeah.
Wow.
They rotor-rooted me out twice, 2 different hospital stays, and I still didn't get the message. You know, my addiction was literally killing me.
Yeah.
And by that point, I didn't care. By that point, I was looking forward to it. You know, it even says in the basic text that we not necessarily actively looking to off ourselves, but you don't want to be around. You don't want to exist anymore. And
yeah, we're hoping for it to happen, right? Like,
oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
I used to say, I don't want to kill myself. I just want to atomize. I want to become one with the universe. In other words, I just want my atoms to disperse. It's all. I mean, it's all I want. And of course, I didn't go into treatment, but I was sort of open to it, and I was so miserable that I just kept going through the oh hell, it was habit. It was a ritual, you know, every day, wake up, feel a little bit off, go hunt down money, go get dope. And then it was like January to February, and that's when I called you for the first time of last year. And no, I texted you. Yeah, I texted you, and I said, you know, hey, you know, I was just bullshitting. You just, hey, you remember me, blah blah blah. And it took forever, as I recall, for me to get around to, are you in recovery? And I felt bad for asking you, because I was just like, oh, you know, he must be embarrassed to tell me, and you know,
oh
and
God,
now
no.
I know, I know.
But I could see how daunting that would be, man. We hadn't seen each other for a long time.
Right.
Yeah. That was such an incredible call for you. Like, what a good decision, man.
Well, thank
you. Not that it was me, but if it was anyone, right? Like, reaching out for help is a good decision. Yeah.
And I really appreciate it. I really appreciate it. It was I avoid Facebook like the plague that it is. I just
a plague. Totally.
I don't know if it was the name Freedom's Path Recovery or something, but there was for some reason I associated that with you. And I did notice just from your online presence, you were different, bro. You were not the same Dave I remember.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that, man. So glad.
Yeah. When I first friended you, I just thought, I'll just do this just because, I've got Jeff as a friend, I've got Hag as a friend, I'll include him too. But there was something fundamentally different about you, that while I was still in active addiction, I wanted to avoid, quite frankly, because you kind of reminded me of what could be, but it reminded me of what I got to do to get there.
Yeah.
And I didn't, from my first experience with a recovery doctor, that was a negative experience, man. And I didn't want to have to go through that again. So
fuck, man, honestly, I can't get over the fact that you did actually call me. I just, it's, as you're talking about it, it's blowing me away, man, because you didn't know me from Adam really anymore, right?
Right.
And the last you knew me was a giant dickhead who was poking you in the chest, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And of course we all know that Montero is a bad influence. Obviously, obviously he was the bad influence. I'm just kidding. That's so funny, hey? Yeah. Obviously, I'm just going to blame him.
Right. That's easy to do.
It was Jeff's fault for sure.
Right. I mean, you gotta be anybody that's got a fucking bubble gum pink lowrider truck.
Oh my God, hey! I never got to see his truck, man. I think I saw pictures of it, and that was it.
Thing was atrocious, bro.
Well, see, his first car was, he bought it off of me when I moved. He bought my first car was a Trans Am. I can't remember what year it was, but it was, my dad bought it off a friend of his from the church. And then when we moved, I sold it to Jeff, or we gave it to Jeff. I can't remember exactly what happened. But yeah, it was, so I never got to see his bubblegum truck. I've heard stories though.
We were riding around in it, just to digress here for a second, or to go on a tangent. We drove down to where the movie theater was, over there by that Alpha Beta and the Rite Aid or whatever the hell it was. The place that sold the ice cream.
Yeah, well, that's where I worked, man. It was I think it was Thrifty's at one point with the ice cream. Thrifty's. And I worked there, and oh God, man. I went back there the first time I went back to California. I went back there to make amends because I had stolen many items from them. And it was heavy on my mind, right, to go there, and it wasn't there anymore. So it was
they already closed it.
Yeah, it was like one of those miracles, right? I went, I was willing, but I didn't have to do a damn thing. So sometimes I think willingness is enough, right?
Right.
Because we can't control that shit. I mean, it was 20 years later, right? So yeah.
Right. It's a shame that place closed too, because that was the very first place my dad took me when we showed up in California, was to buy ice cream there. Yeah, so I was kind of bummed.
That is a bummer, man.
But
sorry, I didn't mean to jump all over that.
No, don't.
You're bringing up so many memories, buddy. I
know.
Yeah. Totally.
But we went down there to go to the Warehouse Music, and he hadn't put the air back in his truck to lift it back up, and we got stuck on one of the fucking speed bumps in the parking lot.
Oh shit! Oh man, that's tough.
We had to get some random strangers to come and lift the back.
Yeah, lift the back up to get it over. Oh, that's a seriously low truck, dude.
Oh, it was terrible. Oh my God.
And it's funny because we don't have a lot of super low riders up here. Obviously, because we have snow and ice and shit. So every time I see one though, it just takes me back to California. I miss it. I miss the watching the sparks as people pull up off the
Hearing it scrape.
Hearing it scrape.
But anyway, I when I called you in February or whatever, I remember I was sitting in a CVS parking lot, and I was just distraught, and I mean fucking distraught. And it started with a text. It started with just us texting, and then you called, or I asked you, "Is it cool if I call?" And you were like, "Yeah, man, yeah." And you and I talked about it, and I don't remember getting much out of the conversation, but I did get, "Hey, look, you can call me whenever. You can call me whenever." And it was a couple of weeks later that I had texted you, and this is a problem that I have, and that is because of all those experiences prior, losing the wife, friends bailing, all that shit that I went through, and nobody was there. Everybody fucking left. Nobody wanted to hear my shit. And the worst thing was I actually had somebody tell me, well, people don't want to be around you because it's just depressing. Fuck yeah, it's depressing.
Yeah, man.
How did I'm dreaming about it. I can't even escape it in my fucking sleep. And but I just figured, I don't deserve real treatment because my trauma is not as bad as anybody else's, as everybody else's, because it's, my wife left me, my kids are gone, my dad died, I lost my house, I lost my job. What's that?
All of those things incredibly traumatic.
Yes, I know that now.
Yeah, of course you do. You found out the hard way what we're talking about.
Right.
Yeah.
But I actually texted you. I texted another friend from high school, Holly Fletcher. She was in my class.
I vaguely remember the Fletcher, Holly Fletcher.
Yeah.
Some names are just.
She's been there from the get. I mean, she's been there for me. She's talked me down off the ledge many times. But out of respect for her, there was one night, and this is the kind of the night that did it. Out of respect for her, I didn't want to talk to her on the phone because I had, if you remember this, I had a line sitting in the seat right next to me.
Yeah, I do.
And
I remember you were talking to me.
Yeah,
that's when you were talking to me, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I told her, hey, look, out of respect for you, I'm just not going to do it with you on the phone. I'm going to get off. And I literally had just picked it up. I've been texting you. You called out of the blue. And I even told you, oh man, I didn't mean for you to call. It's not that big of a deal. Like I said, I'm what are my problems? Because
you're fine.
Leaves when I have a problem. And you said, no, dude, it sounded like you were in trouble. It sounded like you needed somebody. And I'm getting kind of choked up thinking about that because
me too, man. I am too.
Here's an addict who knows, who can read the signs, reaching out to another addict. And I told you, hey, dude, my back's hurting. And I'm starting to withdraw. I've got this line right next to me. And you said, do what you need to do. And that blew my doors off. I remember coming home from that conversation after getting off the phone with you and sitting at the table just dumbfounded. Because I even told my mom, dude, and I didn't tell my mom shit about my addiction. And it was, you had told me, hey, look, you're sick. You've got a disease. Right now, it's your medicine. And until you can get a hold, get something else for your disease, get into treatment, whatever. I'm not going to judge you for that. I'm not going to judge you for wanting to be okay.
Yeah, man.
And when we got off the phone, what you said to me, the last thing you said to me was, just make sure you're safe. Nobody ever said that to me before. Not when it came to my addiction. Nobody ever said, I just want to make sure you're safe.
Yeah, man.
That meant everything, Dave. The next day is when I actually started looking into treatment programs. But I'm still in active addiction, still seeking my shit out every day. So it didn't really happen. I don't know if you remember, the next time you heard from me, I texted you and said, I had a stroke. I'm in the hospital and I had a stroke.
That's right.
And they were not going to let me go. They in the ER, you know, I told them, fuck it, I'm out. But they said, okay, that's cool. We'll call security. And they were not going to let me go. And so I had to admit, look, I'm an addict. And they told me, look, hey, we're going to make sure you're comfortable. Funny thing is I never took the Suboxone while I was in there because I was still getting dope.
Yeah.
Because an addict's going to find a way.
Always.
But they'd set me up an appointment for an addiction specialist. But it was like a month and a half away. And I remember talking to you after, you know, there was that month and a half. And then I talked to you before I went to the doctor, and you were like, right on, man. I'm glad, you know, you're doing the right thing. And I talked to you when I left the doctor, and that was, I'm fucking done. I don't know what to do, because they told me we're not going to see new patients. You waited a month and a fucking half and you weren't going to see new patients. That's cool. And you were on my ass. Just don't stop. Don't stop. Whatever you do, don't stop. And I don't know if you remember the trouble I had finding treatment. Holy shit.
Oh, you were going through it, man.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
One center after another.
Yeah.
Nope. You know, the place across the street, we were down the street from me. They wouldn't take me because I couldn't afford it. They wouldn't give me a scholarship because I wasn't living on the streets. Another place, they weren't taking my insurance. Another place, they weren't taking the insurance. Oh my God. And you knew I was trying, man. And I couldn't believe it. I was just thinking, dude, it's not like, you know, I'm compelled to be here. I'm begging you for help. And you and my mom were the ones that were just don't stop. And I remember seeing my primary care physician, and I told him about that whole ordeal, and he said, well, it looks like they had recommended you to a treatment facility, an outpatient treatment facility. Well, I never got told that. Nobody ever told me. And the place that he told me they recommended me to was a place that my ex-girlfriend was going to, who was still in active addiction. So of course I'm thinking, well, that place doesn't work. She and I were talking at the time, and she said, hey, look, you should go, you know, as long as you do their program, it'll work. And I went, and I'll be down here now. And what's funny is I probably would have relapsed. The doctor, he was kind of dickish. He told me later that he's like that because he said, after you lose a couple hundred people, you stop giving a shit about people's feelings.
It's really, it must be really hard for them. I mean, and to start with, doctors are distant anyway. Start with, they're not the most like friendly people anyway. Yeah.
And the doctors I've known have not exactly made the best decisions.
Yeah, I shouldn't say friendly. I should say empathetic and compassionate. Those are the words I was looking for.
That's more apt. That's more appropriate. But what's funny about him is that he was so kind of standoffish. The second time I saw him, he said, I'm gonna recommend you go to in treatment. And by that time I was, you know, I'd only been going for 2 days, but you know, I know everything. Fuck. And I was just opposed, just absolutely opposed. I said, nope, it's not going to happen. And he flat out said, you're going to relapse. You are going to relapse and you're going to end up back on the streets, blah, 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 blah. I was so pissed when I left that appointment. And on the way home, I was thinking to myself, fuck you, I'm going to use, you know, fuck you. But then I realized, no, wait a minute, fuck you. I'm going to prove you wrong. I'm going to get clean just to fucking spite you.
Right on, man. Spite's a powerful motivator at times.
Right.
Especially for us spiteful humans.
Right. And for at least the first 2 weeks, it was straight up spite, fuck you, look, I'm doing it. And but what's cool is that if I had gone into treatment, the cool things that happened within those 2 weeks never would have happened. And I don't remember exactly what all happened, but it was like that. Life was different. The anxiety was gone. That constant dread of waking up every morning, that constant dread of going to sleep every night, because you know what's going to happen the next day. That was all gone, bro. It was all gone. And once the 2-week period was up, that's when I realized, holy shit, there's something to this, man. And there really, really is. And that's when I got into contact with you again, to say, hey, look, I'm now clean, and at least for a couple of weeks, and things are looking up. I was getting a haircut, and I was taking care of taking care of myself. And I'd never take, with the strokes and the blood clot and everything, I was supposed to be on medicines, and I was never taking them. And now I take them religiously, because something he did say really mattered to me. I was convinced towards the end of my active addiction, I was convinced, and I was probably right. I had less than 5 years. I had less than 5 years left, and I didn't give a shit. Faster it got done with, great.
Yeah, faster the better, right?
Right. But at the time I was 44, and he said, he just an offhanded comment. He said, man, you got half your life ahead of you. And it dawned on me, driving away from that appointment, oh my God, that's another 44 years. But, I've got to take care of myself. And so I started taking all my med. I take them religiously. I started eating better. As a matter of fact, when I first started seeing him, I was on Lispro, which is insulin, which is a rapid acting insulin. And I was on 54 units of a long acting insulin. I'm now down to 38. And until really the holidays hit and I started eating like shit again, I was off the Lispro. I was off the rapid acting. I didn't need to take it anymore.
Right on.
And the hematologist for the blood clots was like, dude, you're rocking it. You're doing great. I started working out, started talking to you about, OMAD and
fasting and
yeah. But that was because now I could devote my time to this comprehensive life change.
Yeah.
My counselor tells me that, he said, I really like your attitude about this, because you're not just using your recovery as just a way to get clean. You're not just getting off drugs. You're using your recovery as a tool to change your entire life. And I said, this, I finally got the opportunity to actually start again. And I can see not just the future, but a future, which is something I didn't see before.
Yeah.
So I got motivated, and
fucking A, dude.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
It's crazy, and it's wonderful. Yeah,
it is.
Yeah, because just like I could tell that day you were having a hard time, I started to notice your messages were of the opposite, not having as hard a time, right? Like,
isn't that great?
Yeah, it's amazing, dude. And to be able to hear you talking along the way about how you're enjoying the process as well is unbelievable, man. Like, unbelievable, right? You're probably in awe of yourself.
Yes.
I'm sure you are, because like that's a life change. You said fundamental life change, I think.
Yeah.
Right. And you're absolutely right, man. Like you're changing the landscape of your brain, dude. That's what you're doing. Right. Yeah. And that's pretty cool, man.
Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Actually, I had written it down somewhere because I wanted to remember it. Oh, that's it. I had oh fuck, never mind. The the other thing that helped was you and my counselor both had said you should start taking you should start considering going to meetings. Well, I'd already built my support network. I had you I was talking to every once in a while. I had a buddy that I was talking to, and my counselor, and I'm still going to my programs, and had my ex-girlfriend who got clean in relatively the same time. She got clean 5 days, or she got into recovery 5 days more than before me. I think I told you that. She sent me a picture of her coin.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, it really was. But I didn't need to go to meetings. That's for real junkies.
That's for guys like me, man.
You're right. and I don't know if anybody remembers this movie, but Clean and Sober from Michael Keaton.
Yeah. You know what? That movie, man, they show it in treatment up here. Different treatment centers. Yeah.
Anytime I think of meetings, I think of that. And I think of the sterile kind of linoleum floors with the fluorescent lighting. And there's oh my God, there's no way I do that. And that's
and if you go to a meeting in a hospital, that's what you get.
Oof.
Yeah, I know, man.
That hurts.
Yeah. Especially if you go to a hospital where the meetings are off of the psych ward. Right. It's very haunting, man. I'm not going to lie to you, but it's telling, right? It's very haunting and very telling as to what we're doing to ourselves by continuing, right?
And what we think. And that's one of the things that kept me in active addiction is that fear of the stigma of what my counselor calls earth people, the everyday citizen. It's not a disease, it's a moral failure.
Yeah.
Right. I love that.
Yeah. I love that too, man.
And
I've never heard that before. So I'm probably going to change it, maybe call people earthlings.
Yeah.
As opposed to us being alien, right?
Right. But one of the things that I thought too was, and this went for recovery programs, period, was, and I've noticed, I know a lot of addicts that, they don't understand my plight. They don't, this program can't work for me because it's different for me. It's, but there's, and the way that I would tell people, and have told people since then is, look, you're not a tulip in a field full of dandelions. You're not the one special person. It's not going to work for a million, thousands of people, but you're the one case that it can't work for.
Yeah.
Because you're special. And
terminal uniqueness, hey?
Terminally unique. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That's such a great saying.
It really is, man. It does suit us pretty good too.
So true. What was that?
It suits us like that. The whole idea of terminal uniqueness is like what we walk through the doors with, right? When we first come in, it's like, I am this unique butterfly, snowflake, whatever it is.
Yep.
And I am not one of you.
I am not that dude right there.
That's
that
right.
Dude needs to be here.
That's right. I'm here because I just want to check it out.
Right. That, and look at him. Look at the way look what he's wearing. Look at his hair. Look, he hasn't shaved in like 6 days. That's the dude that needs to be here.
Yeah.
Now, God forbid I look at a picture of myself when I was in active addiction, because I'd look at that dude and I'd be like, wow, that dude needs to be here.
Yeah, that dude needs some help. Yeah, we'd be looking at him. Exactly.
And that's one of the reasons why I'm so, and not necessarily because I'm at the height of vanity or anything like that, but that's why I'm trying to take care of myself a bit more, is because that I'm not that anymore. I'm I'll never forget my youngest son showed me a picture of a guy just impeccably dressed. It was for a cologne ad, because my little one's into colognes and so am I. Just impeccably dressed. And he said, that reminds me of you. And I thought, oh shit.
Wow.
That's a lot to live up to.
Yeah.
I asked him, because I said, I don't dress like that all the time. And he said, but that's the way you present yourself. And I thought, well, damn,
It's not
maybe I need
bad.
to start, representing what I'm presenting,
Absolutely, man. There's
And
something to that, right?
yeah, the more you take care of yourself, the better you feel about yourself. And
Well, and the better you feel about yourself, the more you're going to take care of yourself.
exactly.
Yeah, man.
And the funny thing is that it's not like you start off with the victory.
Yeah.
And it was when I started understanding the small victories, calling and making a fucking doctor's appointment,
Mhm.
taking my medicine for the day.
God, those are
Um,
tiny victories for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
They
And
all
essential
start
ones.
to add up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And those little endorphin and dopamine sensors that are overloaded, they start getting the little kick of,
Yeah.
I took a shower. Holy shit.
Mhm.
I clipped my nails. Oh my God.
Yeah.
And those habits begin to form. And anyway, that support network, that little
Yeah.
itty bitty support network that I built,
Mhm.
you and my counselor kept telling me, really ought to go to meetings, really ought to go to meetings. And I never understood why.
We're just
And
jerks. We just wanted to say it for no reason. We're just jerks.
yeah, you guys keep plugging this thing, dude. Don't you
Yeah.
see? I've got it under control, bro.
Yeah. For sure, man. I've never heard that before. And I've never said it before, I assure you. I've got it under control. I've got it under control. Don't worry about this fire here. This is my fire. I'm fine.
Right. It won't spread. We're good.
Yeah, no.
But it was and I didn't ask you, but I did ask my counselor, why the hell do you keep pushing this? Because I don't give a shit. I've got my support network. And he said, because it never hurts to have more support. And he, when I was talking to my addiction specialist, she said, I really appreciate the fact that you've been building a support network. And she was the one that told me it's like making a down payment. The bigger the down payment you make, the easier the payments are to make. And like we know, rent is due every day.
Every day.
But right after Thanksgiving, my support network started failing. I couldn't meet up with my buddy. I was gonna come here, and God bless Darcy. I hope everything's okay.
Yeah, things have really started to balance out there. So yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
right.
It's really nice to see because they went through so much shit for a bit there. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm happy for him.
I know, man. Thank you for mentioning that.
Yeah. Then my ex disappeared. Since I haven't heard from her since December 9th.
Wow. Hopefully she's okay, man. Yeah, I hear you.
I think so. I've gotten word that she is, but I don't know. Yeah. I don't know firsthand.
It's tricky until you talk to them firsthand.
Exactly. Yeah. It's exactly right. It's exactly right. I have it from a good source, I should say. I don't want to get them in trouble by saying
no, for sure. No need to.
Then I also my counselor, I was meeting with him once a week, and then he had a family emergency. His poor wife, she well, I don't want to get into his business. They're okay.
Right. But glad they're okay.
So I couldn't talk to him for a couple of weeks. And this is around the holidays, bro. And addicts and holidays, it's oil and fucking water.
It's a rough time of year, man.
Yeah.
That's why it's one of my busiest times of year.
No shit.
Is November, December, January. Yeah.
And like I said, all of this was happening right around my birthday, December 16th, right around Christmas. And just for shits and giggles. So my whole support network failed. And just for shits and giggles, because I was feeling really low one night, I thought, okay, I'll go to a meeting. And when I looked at the clock, it was 12 o'clock. And I thought, fuck, or it was like 10 after 12. And I thought, fuck, I great. Now I got to wait another hour. I'm fucking tired. But I found one meeting at 12:15 my time, 9:15 their time. And, I'm going to plug them. It's NA group in Spokane.
Okay.
NA means necessary. And I've been plugging away over there too. So hopefully somebody's going to hear it.
Well, I appreciate all that, man. I appreciate more than anything is that you found some connection in the rooms. Like,
hell yes.
Yeah,
Hell
man.
yes. Those people are my family. I
Mhm.
fucking adore those people. I really, really do.
Yeah, isn't that wild, man? Hey,
It
like,
really is.
because they're
You know,
not
the
even
first night-
anywhere near you.
Right. And
Yeah.
it's crazy. The first night that I went there, I hear one guy, and who's now my sponsor. He said, I want, if this is the first time in the rooms, if you're coming back from a relapse, I want you to know I love you, and you are the reason I'm alive. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. And of course, I'm thinking, this is my first time there. I'm thinking, yeah,
You're like, what are you
that's the way
selling,
to keep me coming
man?
back. Right,
Yeah.
right.
What
I've
are
worked
you
in sales,
selling?
bro. Yeah, I've worked in the church. I know how that works.
Yeah, you know it, man. If you've worked in a church,
Right.
you know. Here comes the sell.
Yeah,
Oh,
but
that's awesome.
I can genuinely say, holy shit, I fucking love those people.
Right
I
on,
really
man.
do. The other day they had two meetings, one at noon my time, one at 12:15 my time. 12:15 at night, 12 during the day.
Gotcha.
The other Thursday, it's 9 o'clock for them. The other Thursday, I was having my counseling session via Zoom, and I was like, man, we need to wrap this up. I need to go to my meeting.
Right on. That's
Yeah.
good news, man, because the people, like I've been reading this book lately called The Craving Brain, I think it's called. And it's just so interesting how the human part of our DNA, right, is to gather together for safety, right? Like it's part of the human process. Like since we were apes, right? Like it's kind of part of our MO.
Tribal, right?
Yeah, it's very tribal. And so that's one of the reasons that some researchers have figured out. That's one of the reasons why the rooms work so well, is because if we go in there, we start feeling connection. And lots of people are, and I'm kind of a believer in this, but a lack of connection leads to more addiction, right? So one of the reasons why these rooms work so well is because of our primal brain and how we crave being close to each other for safety secretly. Now, this is in the backfield of our brain, right? Where not everybody's going to be able to see that. And even if you mention it to them, they might be like, I don't quite understand that, because it's obviously evolution is hard for people to swallow, especially if they're believers, right?
Right.
So it's just amazing to me, because as you're talking about it, it reminds me of that, because the closer to the center of the group you get, the safer you are, right? So as soon as people are in the middle, that's why we tell people, don't stay on the outskirts, because if you're on the outskirts, the lion's going to get you, right? And for us, the lion is our chemical or our behavior, whatever that is. And so it's incredible, man. Just the difference in you, right? Like how you talk, how you text, how you carry yourself. It's pretty cool, man.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, man.
And I'd had a problem with this, and hopefully, if there is somebody that is listening right now, I really kind of wanted to key in on this. It was something I had to talk to you about, that I was struggling with the meetings. And I'm really, really glad that in our meeting, this is the reason I stuck around this meeting, is they read from somewhere, maybe the basic text, where it said that even atheists have come and have found, and that's why I contacted you, because I'm hearing people, and I don't care, I'm,
of course not,
whatever, I don't give a shit what you believe. the way I always describe it is, because I'm no longer a believer, is you can play with your toys, but don't expect me to play with your toys. And you sure as shit better not try to make my kids play with your toys.
Yeah.
They can come to their own conclusion. I don't care. But I'm also not going to knock what's getting you there. I don't, as long as it's getting you there. But the reading, they read that. And then I talked to you and you were like, and you told me, bro, it's the process. If the higher power is the process, for you, at least the way you explained it.
Yeah. It's a higher process.
Yes, mind blowing. It's kind of like it's your duty to the social contract, so that you can fulfill your end of the social contract with the world. And I need to stay here. I need to stay clean to continue to fulfill my responsibility to the rest of humanity. And if the rest of humanity is going to demand these things of me, I can't. There's no way I can falter and have that hunter get me again. He's out there sniping me, just waiting for me to slip up one time, peek my head up just once above the blades of grass,
or stray off path. Like, yep,
exactly. So I
like that description, a hunter. That's apt.
And that's the way I see it.
It's a hunter who doesn't need to sleep, eat, or use the washroom, right? The hunter's just always waiting in the trees outside. Yeah.
Yep.
Fuck, man, I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. He's waiting for, and all I've got to do is fuck up once.
Yep.
Once.
And honestly, as time goes on, we can follow the path of fucking up, right? Back to that gorilla that's waiting for us, right?
Right.
Like it might take, as time goes on, and for each person it's different, right? It could take a couple of weeks to fall off, and then you're right there with the gorilla again, or it takes 3 months, or it takes 6 months. And that's obviously part of the problem, right? Is that some people can go back out and then come right back in, right?
Right.
For them, that's problematic, right? Because and I've seen this with people I work with, of course, for years, is that when you go back out, it's so hard to come back in and stay, right?
Yeah.
Like it is so hard. And I see examples like you do probably every day, right? Of people who are coming back all the time. I'm grateful they're coming back.
Absolutely.
Because, man, as long as there's breath in the lungs and you can walk through that door, you've got a fucking chance, right?
Right.
And that's pretty powerful shit, and that's the difference between us, between 12-step fellowships and the fellowships that we are a part of, and the doctor medical community, right? Is that we do give a shit about each other.
Right.
Not because everybody,
but
we do give a shit.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, I think both you and my counselor told me that, and I agree wholeheartedly, NA is part of the answer. It's not the answer.
It's not the only answer. Yeah.
Right. And it's not the only answer. There's seeking safety, which I've done. There's the smart recovery. And it's there's more than one answer, but this answer is a proven answer, and they're all proven answers. And that's where the terminally unique thing comes in.
Yeah.
Is, for those that think
just described, right?
Absolutely. And it's one of the reasons I really like that saying from day one. I like the saying of, we keep what we have by giving it away. And I truly have come to understand that, because I don't know if I asked you, I probably did, but I've asked every recovery doctor I've talked to, anybody that's in the field. I've said, why, when I first started, why are you doing this? Why do you give a shit? Because I wouldn't want to deal with me.
Yeah.
And they always have told me it's because, of people like you that we give a shit. Now I get it. And I am dead fucking set on, my counselor is helped me try to navigate the figuring out how to become a recovery coach. And then the career path that branches off from that. And I'm, knowing me, I will follow that all the way to the end, as far as I can go, because my heart is in it, man. I saw the other day, I was at the gas station with my mom, And I look over and I just said, and I looked at my mom and I said, "Dude's shooting up." And she looked over and she didn't see it. I knew exactly what was
Well, we
going
know what that shit looks like.
on. Exactly. And it, and my mom didn't respond with you. She responded with, "Oh, I just want to go over there and tell him that it can be okay. There's a better way." And that's so heartwarming because it ripples out just like your addiction ripples out and touches everything, just oozes. When you start getting to recovery, I've noticed it ripples out and everybody else's life is positively impacted. My kids, my fucking ex-wife, my
Dude,
my
anyone
mom.
can be victim to the goodness.
Yes. Yeah.
As opposed to our badness. Right now, they're just victims of our goodness.
Right. And I'm cool with that. I'm
Yeah, man.
absolutely cool with
Fucking
that.
A.
But everybody's life is slowly changing for the better. We're not all great, and I can accept that now.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. I'm not where I was, and that's special. That's
Well, you're not
special.
running around chasing that thing, man. Like that just changes lives, man. Right? Like the simple fact that you don't have to run around all day chasing that fucking dragon, right? And like and on top of that, you're not just not doing it, you're doing positive things that are
Right.
gonna, right, like push you in a new
Things
dimension.
that I care, things that make me feel better about me. And
Yeah.
I had a couple of weeks in, I had thought, the dude that I would not want my kids around. I would not want my kids knowing or associating with. And my kids wanted to associate with me, and that scared me. And I realized I want to become not only somebody that my kids admire, I want to be somebody I admire. I want to be somebody I look at and go, damn, I want to be like that guy.
Yeah.
And so now, and that's part of that comprehensive life change. I am slowly becoming, I admire what I'm doing, but I'm slowly becoming the person that I admire.
And that's the process, man. Like well said. Well said, good sir. Yeah, man. Like that, and that's what it's all about, right? Is like we talk about, if you want to feel self-esteem, like positive self-esteem, we have to do esteemable acts. We can't replace that, right?
I really like that.
And I've heard, I didn't make it up. I heard it somewhere, probably in a room somewhere, right?
Right.
But it's true. I've found it to be so true in recovery, man, that every time I face a decision, if I can give myself a pause first, usually I won't make the old decisions, right? I'll make new decisions. Some decisions that are scary, right? Like, because this new life requires vulnerability, right? And it also requires a very tough countenance, right? You have to have tough skin to be able to even just show our faces in places. It's like we have to grow like lizard skin, that really tough, like crocodiles almost, right? Because the places we've been, by the time we sober up, we're so sensitive, right? Without our drugs, without our chemicals, we become so hypersensitive to the world. That's right. Yeah, exactly, man. The scab's gone. Now we're vulnerable, right? The funny thing is that vulnerability is scary, but it will absolutely save our life, right? Like you've experienced it, man. Going to a Zoom meeting, right? Halfway across the country.
Sharing for the first time.
Dude, those are acts of courage. Shit. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Like how yeah. Sorry, no, dude, it's okay. Like, how awesome is it when you don't have to wallow in your own shit and you have people you can talk to, but like you said, that 1,000-pound phone, that's because it weighs 1,000 pounds, because being vulnerable sucks. Right? Like being vulnerable and calling some stranger or relative stranger and relying on them to be compassionate, that's scary shit, man.
It really is. It really is.
Yeah. And it's not our forte by the time we quit, right? Like it's not stuff we're good at,
And somebody a long time ago, and I've taken this with me since then, said, if you've got appendicitis, you're suffering, and eventually it will fucking kill you. The only way to get rid of it is to take a knife, cut you open, gouge that out, and then take a needle and sew you back up.
Mhm.
So the only way to do that is to cause a little bit more damage. And that damage, I think, is that vulnerability of opening myself up to, okay, this is going to fucking hurt.
Mhm.
And, talking to you about the experiences that I had that led me to recovery, fucking hurt. And, but the only way that I can get past that, the only way that I can heal eventually is to let that incision happen, to undergo that cutting, that removing of that dead tissue. So yeah, that vulnerability that you're speaking, that really, that's
Thank you, man. I appreciate that so much, dude. I appreciate you coming on tonight, man.
Hell yeah.
It's been so good. And dude, like as you're talking, I was thinking like, oftentimes, like for me, remembering childhood is dangerous, right?
Right.
But it's nice to be able to connect the present to the past, right? And to be able to look at you, man, and just be able to talk with you. And I'm just grateful you didn't write me off, because you would have had every reason to write me off. And you know what, man, I would not be the same had you written me off. So
I need to see the change in you.
Man, I appreciate that a lot. It means a lot to me. Fuck, man, it means a lot. Yeah,
you have something to be proud of, David. You are so different, brother.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you, man, saying that. Fuck, I appreciate it being different, to be honest. Like when I was younger, I never thought that I'd be having any of these conversations with people, man. So
isn't it great?
Yeah,
I'm proud of you. I'm fucking proud of you, brother. I'm proud of you.
Thanks, man.
I really am. Yeah.
Thank you. And I'm equally proud of you, man.
Thank you.
I haven't done anything, but I am so proud of you, just like making all these hard choices. And, it, like for most people out there trying to get clean, it's hard and it takes perseverance, right? Like, because the world doesn't essentially give a shit. But like, and there's agencies, of course, that do, and people that do, but the world at large doesn't really give a shit. And so it's definitely up to us as addicts to try to get well, but it's also up to others to be helpful and useful and compassionate towards us, especially our suffering brothers and sisters who are still running around chasing that shit.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
The last thing we need is more judgment in our lives, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, man, I don't want to keep you all night. I really appreciate you coming on. This means a hell of a lot to me, Robert.
And me too. This has been one of my goals in recovery.
Dude, this honestly unbelievable, man. I didn't realize that was a goal for you. So that makes me, well, obviously it makes me feel pretty good. So
good.
yeah.